Muslim faithful celebrate Eid al-Adha, meaning a festival of the sacrifice. And Maasai elders perform rituals to cleanse the family of the late Ntimama. Thanks for joining us here on a KTN NewsDesk on this 12th day of September 2016, and we wish all our Muslim brothers and sisters an Eid Mubarak as they celebrate the Feast of the Sacrifice, which is Eid al-Adha. My name is Akisa Wandera. I'll be taking you through the broadcast. Many thanks for staying with us. Good afternoon. Now, police have intensified investigations following the foiled terror attack targeting Mombasa Central Police Station. 3 terror suspects who were clad in buibui said to have been armed with petrol bombs and were shot dead by police as they attempted to attack the police station. 2 police officers were injured after being stabbed by the attackers. 3 people believed to be accomplices of the attackers are in police custody, and our reporters have been on the ground since that incident which occurred yesterday. Our reporter John Juma now joins us from Mombasa with more updates on that particular incident. We are still trying to get hold of John Juma, who will be joining us later on with more details on this particular attack. We understand the police have identified 2 of the assailants, and we will definitely be giving you more information on the same. Now, Muslims across the world are today marking the Eid al-Adha festival. The day is marked to honor Ibrahim's willingness to submit to God's command. Those who are well off are expected to sacrifice their best halal animals to symbolize Ibrahim's sacrifice. 1/3 of the animal's meat is then distributed to the poor, with the rest distributed to family and friends. On Sunday, the annual Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia reached its climax with 1.5 million Muslims gathering at Mount Arafat to offer day-long prayers and recitations from the Quran. Today, pilgrims will be taking part in the Jamrat, also known as the stoning of the devil.
الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر.
All right, let's now head over to Narok County, where Maasai elders are expected to perform traditional rituals to cleanse the family of the late William Ole Ntimama and kick off celebrations to honor the former cabinet secretary. The rituals will be held at the late politician's Motonyi home in Narok County, where he will be buried on Wednesday. The request to have a pre-burial ceremony was made by Ntimama's age mates, local churches, and governors from Maasai land and residents. And we'll definitely be telling you how that ritual session will go. Our reporter, Victor Ogale, is in Narok County and will be bringing us more information on the same. Now, there was drama along Mombasa Road after a trailer ferrying maize was involved in an accident, triggering hundreds of area residents to scramble for the maize. The trailer from Mombasa heading towards Nairobi is said to have swerved off the road to avoid a head-on collision with an oncoming vehicle before it rolled several times. What about the spilt maize spread like bushfire, and within a short time, people were at the scene to collect the maize. Efforts by the trailer driver and his conductor to bar the increasing mob from grabbing the maize turned futile as they watched the drama. By the time traffic police officers arrived at the scene, little was left and the huge crowd was too difficult to control. Motorists plying the route had to wait a bit longer as the surging crowd did not observe any traffic rules, as maize was a priority then. Excited beneficiaries termed the maize as godsend, saying it was indeed a good public holiday to them.
Ni mahindi inachukuliwa, manake wananchi hakuna njia nyingine, kitu kingine tunaweza fanya ni kuchukua mahindi na wala kusaidia, tuwasaidie waende hospitali. Lakini Mungu ni mzuri, manake hawajaumia sana ati ile tunasema critical condition. Ile kitu tunasema ni Mungu ametuma mahindi kutoka juu na ndio tutaendelea kukula tu.
All right, let's now cross borders and get into Rwanda, where close to 2 weeks ago, Kenya became the only country in East Africa to introduce a law that puts a ceiling of bank interest rates at 4% above the Central Bank of Kenya benchmark rate, currently standing at 10.5%. But Kenyan banks, operating in other East African countries, be guided by the new law. KTN's reporter in Rwanda, Eugene Anangwe, sought clarification from the managing director of Equity Bank in Rwanda. Take a look.
Here in Rwanda, since the announcement of the introduction of a cap on interest rates by Kenyan banks, has been whether these Kenyan financial institutions with presence across the East African community would implement the same rule outside of the Kenyan borders.
We are a region that is integrating. And integration comes with, whatever happens to one affects the other in one or the other. We're seeing, with Equity, much as we are operating in Rwanda here, we're part of the larger group. We are part of the Equity group. Share is being affected downward in Kenya because it's a perception that investors have that, with the capping of interest means reduction in returns, and therefore downgrade the potential to make returns. But of course, what happens to Kenya does have an impact on us, particularly some of the banks or investments that stem from Kenya. But we in very good books. We don't have. I'm not affected here. I've not been asked to reduce a coin on my interest rates.
Right. In June this year, the Central Bank of Rwanda kept its benchmark interest rate on hold at 6.5%. and a lending rate of 16.95%.
In fact, if you look at the reasons why probably in Kenya they were voting for capping interest rates, there were arbitrary practices probably here and there. But here I don't see any arbitrary practices. We operate with full disclosure to Central Bank. They know how much our margins are. They know what the cost of funds structure is. They usually engage us. We meet occasionally to discuss these things. So I would say we are running a very good, sound monetary economy here that is supportive of development. The capping of interest rates is not a bad thing per se. It is probably a correction of the market. Maybe the tools they used to achieve it may be questionable. Capping interest rates in any economy is not a good thing.
The bottom line.
So my message to my customers and Kenyans who are in Rwanda doing business in Rwanda, what happened in Kenya will not happen in Rwanda. But of course, I think the central bank would be best placed, or government of Rwanda best placed to say that. But my own prediction, it's very stable here.
With the Central Bank of Rwanda, the regulator of financial institutions here in Rwanda, having given no word or directive on the interest rates offered by Kenyan financial institutions, then it only means that those banking with these institutions here will have to wait a little longer to enjoy the fruits that come with the interest rate cap. For KTN News in Kigali, Rwanda, I'm Eugene Anangwe reporting.
Thank you very much, Eugene, for that. Now, let's go back to our top story of the hour, and it's that foiled terror attack in Mombasa. Police have intensified investigations following the foiled terror attack targeting Mombasa Central Police Station. 3 terror suspects who were clad in buibui and armed with petrol bombs were shot dead by police as they attempted to attack the police station. 2 police officers were injured after being stabbed by the attackers, and 3 people believed to be accomplices of the attackers are in police custody. Let's now cross over to Mombasa to our reporter Francis Ntomwa for more details on this particular. Our reporter John Juma, beg your pardon, who's joining us from Mombasa County for more details on the same. A very good afternoon to you, John. I'm sorry I thought we would be having Francis, but thank you very much for joining us. And we understand that the police have identified 2 of the assailants. Kindly keep us up to speed with that.
Thank you very much, Akisa. Actually, you're going to have both of us. We know that 3 assailants are still in police custody. The 3 who were killed yesterday, 1 is still not identified. We also know that police have widened their investigations, and now they're even targeting some of the schools whereby some of these are alleged to have studied in, for example, a secondary school in Mumbai, 2 secondary schools in Mombasa. Still, the information coming out from security officers is very little information that we can share out, because today they've not held any press conference or any media briefing. Our calls are not going through, meaning that they just want to do their investigations thoroughly before they let any information out. But we also understand there's a pending post-mortem at Coast General Hospital in the mortuary, just to find out more about what could be inside these bodies. But my colleague Francis Ontoma has been in the field for the better part of the day, just trying to piece issues together, trying to reach the relatives, and he's here with me. Francis Ontoma, what did you actually gather so far since morning?
Well, as at now, Juma, it's still scanty, and as you had indicated earlier, it's still scanty. It is quite hard for journalists really to access this particular information, because we've actually been moving to the subject areas, that is Kibokoni and Majengo, the 2 areas that have been associated with these 3 assailants, or rather these 3 people who were killed, the terrorist suspect. Of course, one of the important factors to note in this particular point, or rather this juncture, is the fact that Kibokoni area is quite, the terrain in that particular area, it's quite really difficult really to access, because in the first place the roads there are quite narrow, and actually it's a place that once you access that particular area, everyone can see you. Therefore, it's quite difficult. And of course, the matter that we are speaking about here is matter terrorism. This is a question that many people fear speaking about. Therefore, even getting friends, kins, rather to speak about this particular subject, it's getting quite difficult. We were given leads to a secondary school that one of the suspects is associated with. We were on the ground. We tried even getting access to that particular area is an issue, because there are guards there. Maybe they've been given instructions to bar journalists from getting inside. Therefore, quite a huge hassle to get more information about this kin, because at the moment now, many journalists or many reporters are now trying to profile these 3 suspects. Who are they, where they came from, and how the manner of execution that was actually brought into spotlight. At this juncture also, police are not giving much details. Of course, they addressed the media yesterday, but today we not see those briefings as we had expected. Therefore, quite difficult to get more about this particular information. But we were at Central Police Station where it occurred, and we saw police officers, of course, trying to clean up the area where it all happened, and of course looking like they are still doing more investigation to understand this particular execution. And at this juncture, what we have also noted, Juma, is the fact that indeed it's not the first time that we are witnessing a police station attacked in the Coast region. True. This is a string of it all, because we saw some actually a few weeks ago. It happened in Lamu, and now it has happened right here in Mombasa, a huge city. Therefore, looks like it's a pattern. There is some sort of a pattern that police are trying to interrogate and perhaps try and frustrate their networks.
But Francis, do you think that our police stations are overexposed?
Well, definitely there are glaring loopholes, truth be said. There are glaring loopholes that security apparatus really need to fix, because at the entrance of the central police station, it's clear there are no serious checkups before you actually get inside. There are no frisking. Anyone can get into the police station. And I keep believing this is particularly a loophole that this particular terrorist actually capitalized on and managed to get access into central police station. Therefore, there are serious, even other public installation we've witnessed, there are glaring loopholes that actually needs to be fixed if security is to be achieved in the city.
Thank you, Francis and Toma. Just telling us the experience he went through trying to get information. Not even the neighbors, not the relatives, not even the school administration. None among those are willing to give any information in relation to these three suspects, simply because they don't want to be exposed and they don't also want to be victimized in one way or another. And so this matter remains to be in the hands of police officers who are carrying out the investigation. Now, until that time they complete and then give us some details, then we'll be able to tell our viewers. Akisa?
Well, quite a task there for journalists. But before I let you go, John Juma, much as we are trying to get information about the assailants, the three of them, how are operations back at the Mombasa Central Station? And also, how are the two police officers who are injured doing? How are they faring on in hospital?
Yes, the two officers are recuperating. At least we've got information that they are in stable condition. Operations at Mombasa Central Police Station are back to normal. So, yes, everything is back to normal. Important to say that security has been beefed up in the coastal city, Mombasa in particular, just to ensure that there's no cause of alarm coming out of what happened yesterday. Akisa.
John Juma, today we understand, of course, it's a public holiday. Muslim faithfuls are celebrating the Feast of Sacrifice, Eid al-Adha. Can they just let us in on how this particular session is being held in Mombasa, where we know a lot of Muslims are based there?
Thank you, Hakisa. The celebrations were very successful, conducted in the morning and ended around, I'm talking about the prayers, around by 9, the prayers were over, and now people are back to their homes, celebrating with their friends, relatives. Yes, and there's nothing that is alarming or that can raise eyebrows that was noted. We realized that in every area that celebrations were being conducted, then everything was normal. There were security officers, and so everything is normal. One thing is that most religious leaders and political leaders who attended today's prayers at Rodangala Primary School, that they condemned yesterday's incidents. Chief Kadi calling for calm and telling Muslims and Christians and even Hindus that crime is crime. It doesn't matter who conducts that crime. And when you know that somebody is likely to be a terror suspect, it's important for you to alert security officers, political leaders, Mombasa Senator Hassan Omar, Mvita legislator Abdul Swamad Sharif, all condemning this thing, and they're saying that the revolving nature of terrorism in this country is now raising eyebrows, that there before we didn't see ladies being radicalized to an extent of being in the front line to attack a police station. And so they're calling upon not only security officers, but even the relatives and the public at large to cooperate to ensure that this issue of radicalization and terror-related incidences are matters of the past in Mombasa County.
Very much, John Juma, for that. Thank you so much, both you and Francis Ontomwa. John Juma and Francis Ontomwa joining us from Mombasa County with updates, security update after the attack on the Mombasa Central Police Station. We understand security and operations have been intensified, and the bodies are of they're expected to be a post-mortem on the bodies of those who died yesterday. Police are still investigating this incident. And of course, Muslim faithfuls in Mombasa, as John Juma tells us, it is a worrying trend. The attack on police stations in that county will definitely be bringing you more details on the same. But away from that, a 39-year-old fisherman yesterday drowned in the Indian Ocean after a tragic fishing expedition at Mayungu area near Malindi town. Bidi Katana Shombo, a renowned diver, had reportedly gone fishing alone in the morning in the deep sea before things went sour. It is alleged that his boat capsized and there was no one near to rescue him. Witnesses said Shombo's canoe was spotted with fish and fishing gear together with his shoes near the shores of the ocean. Sensing danger, they alerted other fishermen and locals who went and pulled their canoe to the shores, after which search efforts began. Alex Kazungu, a fisherman and brother-in-law to the deceased, said the body was found near the Kenya Navy base. Hashim Mahabub, who was trained by Shombo on how to fish, revealed that the deceased had hinted that he wanted to work hard to get 5,000 Kenya shillings to pay Chama so as to get a loan that will help him clear school fees for his child.
Kile kidau kilikuwa kimezama. Kimemzamisha yule jamaa pia. Sasa ikabidi tukamsaidia yule jamaa, tukakipandisha kile kidau. Niliporudi huko sasa ikabidi ndio nikapigwa simu nikaambiwa basi huku ameokotwa huku.
Lakini kula amekula asubuhi, lunch hakula, sapa jana usiku hakula, mpaka breakfast asubuhi hakupata. Amebeba pesa chakula jana mchana. Kanambia nasikia njaa sana mimi. Kile chambo tena naokota lakini hakioni vizuri. Mpaka mimi namokotea chambo asema chambo hicho nakitoa wapi? Kuna chambo kingine kinatoka kondo cha green. Yeye hakioni. Sasa mimi kila nikiokota kwa kile kebe changu kimeniwa gunia hivi, anaona kile chambo ni kizuri. Anasema hicho chambo nakitoa wapi? Anambia gongo majini hichi. Sasa mbona mimi sikioni? Sasa mimi sikuelewa kindani kama ana matatizo gani.
All right, at this point, we'll take a short break, but do not go too far. We still have more updates to give you on what has been happening in the country and beyond here on NewsDesk. Do not go too far. Kisan Dera, enjoy the rest of your afternoon and keep it KTN News.